Right now, somewhere in your home, there may be a small velvet box or an old tin that belonged to your grandfather, your uncle, or your great-uncle. And inside it, a handful of medals on faded ribbons that nobody has looked at twice in decades. Most families just assume they're sentimental. A few families find out there's something more. Today, we're going through 10 military medals that are secretly worth real money on the collector's market. And by the end, you'll know exactly what to look for and exactly how to check the one you might already own. Number 10 on our list is the standard World War II Victory Medal. Now, I want to be upfront with you on this one. I'm not going to inflate this one. The basic Victory Medal issued to virtually every American service member who served between 1941 and 1946 is extremely common, and in average circulated condition, it typically runs somewhere between $5 and $15. What makes this entry worth knowing, though, is that condition and original issue packaging matter far more than people realize. A Victory Medal that still has its original named box, the paper insert, and an accompanying discharge certificate can push into the $75 to $150 range as a documented grouping. The physical check here is simple. Look at the edge of the medal itself. Authentic American issue World War II Victory Medals are struck in bronze and marked with a recessed edge inscription. Run your thumbnail along that edge. You should feel the lettering clearly, not a smooth or slightly raised line, which signals a reproduction. If you inherited a box of your grandfather's service items and this medal is in it alongside any paperwork, don't separate them. The grouping is always worth more than the individual piece. If you thought that one was surprising, this next one has tripped up a lot of people who assumed they had something ordinary. Number 9 is the Korean War Service Medal, specifically the version issued with its original named suspension ribbon intact and accompanied by what's called a theater ribbon bar. Alone, a standard Korean service medal in good shape is worth around $20 to $40. But here's the thing. A significant number of Korean-era veterans receive their medals in group sets. The Service Medal, the United Nations Service Medal, and the National Defense Service Medal, all documented to a single service record with the veteran's name on the original case or accompanying paperwork. A fully documented, named grouping like that in excellent condition can bring $150 to $250 at militaria auction. The check. Look at the suspension ring at the top of the medal, where the ribbon attaches to the medal itself. On original issue pieces, the ring is a solid, seamless loop. On later reproductions and commemorative pieces made in the 1980s and 90s, that ring often shows a very faint side seam where the two halves were joined. That's a quick, immediate visual that costs you nothing. Number 8. Ever wonder why some Civil War medals look almost identical, but one is worth 10 times more than the other? The answer usually comes down to one word: provenance. The medal itself in this slot is the Grand Army of the Republic membership badge. The GAR was the Union Veterans Organization, and members wore these badges to meetings and events from the 1860s through the early 20th century. A plain, undocumented GAR badge in average shape might bring $30 to $75. But a badge with a clearly engraved or stamped member name on the reverse, tied to a specific post number and accompanied by a membership certificate or discharge papers, can be worth $500 or more, sometimes significantly more if the named veteran can be confirmed in pension records or regimental histories. The physical check here is a two-part identifier. Flip the badge over and look for both a post number engraving and a member name. You need both. A post number alone or a name alone is interesting. The combination is what collectors are paying serious money for. These turn up in old family trunks fairly regularly. If your family had roots in the rural Midwest or the Northeast going back to the 1800s, this is one to look for. Number 7. And this one consistently surprises people. The Purple Heart, specifically pre-World War II issue, is among the most emotionally charged and most value-variable medals in American militaria collecting. A standard World War II-era Purple Heart, in average condition, is valued at around $100 to $200, depending on condition. But the real split in value comes from one thing. Is it a named Purple Heart? Beginning in 1942, Purple Hearts were ordered to be named to the recipient on the reverse, typically the full name and rank stamped into the medal. A clearly named World War II Purple Heart tied to service documentation can reach $500 to $800. Now, earlier versions are a different matter entirely. Purple Hearts issued during World War I or the interwar period 1918 through 1941 are significantly scarcer. Authenticated period examples from that window have sold for over $1,000 at specialized auctions. The physical check, the World War II heart-shaped medal, should have a distinct raised profile of George Washington in medieval armor on the obverse. If that relief looks soft, slightly flat, or the fine detail on Washington's coat is muddy rather than sharp, you may be looking at a much later commemorative copy rather than an original issue piece. If the detail is sharp and you see a name on the back, this is the point at which I'd strongly recommend having it looked at by a professional military appraiser before you do anything with it. The next one moves us into territory that a lot of people don't even know exists as a collecting category. Number 6 is the World War I Victory Medal with campaign clasps. The base Victory Medal issued to American Expeditionary Forces veterans is common enough, worth around $20 to $50 on its own. What changes everything is the presence of battle clasps on the suspension ribbon. The American Victory Medal could be issued with up to 5 named campaign clasps: Meuse, Argonne, Champagne, Marne, Aisne-Marne, Street-Mihiel, and Somme Offensive, among others. Each additional original clap increases the research interest and the value. A Victory Medal with 3 or more verified original clasps attached can bring $150 to $350, and a full 5-clasp example in excellent condition has topped $500 at auction. The physical check is a counting exercise. Count the clasps carefully and check that each one sits flat and parallel to the ribbon bar. Original clasps were machine-struck and fit snugly. Reproductions or later added clasps often sit slightly proud of the ribbon or show inconsistent spacing. If your great-grandfather served in France during the First World War and left his medals to the family, this is the grouping to investigate first. We're at number 5 now, and this is a good moment. If you're finding value in what we're covering today, go ahead and give this a like. It genuinely helps more people find their way to this kind of information, and I appreciate it. Number 5 is the Distinguished Service Cross, which ranks second only to the Medal of Honor in the Army's Valor hierarchy. This is not a common medal. Fantastic Four, it was awarded for extraordinary heroism in combat, and total award numbers across all conflicts are in the tens of thousands rather than the millions. An unattributed, undocumented Distinguished Service Cross in good to very good condition typically brings between $300 and $600 at militaria auctions. A named example tied to a verifiable service record, and the DSC almost always generated significant paperwork, including a citation describing the specific act of valor. He can reach $1,500 to $2,500 or more. The physical check here is weight. The Distinguished Service Cross was struck in bronze, and the genuine article has a satisfying, substantial weight in the hand. Take it out and hold it for a moment. Then compare that weight to any standard service medal you have. The DSC should feel noticeably heavier than a thin-struck campaign medal. If it feels light or slightly hollow, that's a signal worth investigating further. If your family has a story about a relative who received a high decoration for valor, even a vague one, that story is worth researching through the National Archives before you assume you know what you're holding. Number 4 is one that travels under the radar almost completely. The Navy Cross, the naval equivalent of the Distinguished Service Cross for extraordinary heroism, follows very similar value patterns, but with one important distinction. Naval military in general has a smaller but intensely committed collector base, which can push prices on well-documented examples higher than comparable Army pieces. An undocumented Navy Cross in very good condition is worth roughly $400 to $700. A named and documented example tied to a specific action or vessel has sold for $2,000 to $4,000 at specialized naval militaria auctions. The physical check for the Navy Cross is a combination of 2 markers. First, look at the cross itself. The authentic Navy Cross features a fouled anchor in the center medallion with a ship on the horizontal arm, and the detail should be crisp and deeply struck, not soft or blurry. Second, check the reverse for any stamping. Many original Navy Crosses were named on the reverse rim, and you want to see consistent, period-appropriate stamping rather than modern engraving. If your family had Navy or Marine Corps veterans, this medal is worth pulling out and examining carefully. Number 3 is something that surprises nearly everyone who encounters it, and it shouldn't, but it does. The Combat Infantryman Badge, often called the CIB, is not technically a medal but a qualification badge, and it is one of the most actively collected pieces of American military insignia in the entire market. The reason is simple. It was awarded only to infantry and special forces soldiers who were in active ground combat, which makes the genuine article far scarcer than general service medals. A World War II-era CIB, in excellent condition with its original pinback mechanism intact, is worth $150 to $350. But here's the detail that almost nobody knows. The first award's CIB features a blue enamel background behind the silver rifle, and World War II-era examples used a slightly different shade of deep cobalt blue compared to later Korean and Vietnam-era versions, which tend toward a brighter, slightly more electric blue. The physical check is to hold the badge in good natural light and look at that enamel color. Deep, slightly muted cobalt, says World War II. Brighter, cleaner blue points to a later issue. Condition of the enamel matters enormously here. Chips and cracks reduce value significantly, and a crack-free deep blue example is increasingly hard to find. A lot of these are in old uniform pockets, pinned to the inside of a dress jacket that's been hanging in a closet for 40 years. Number 2 on this list, and the genuine peak of value in today's video, the Medal of Honor. I want to be careful and precise here because this deserves precision. The Medal of Honor is the highest military decoration the United States awards, and its legal and historical status as an artifact is unique. The Stolen Valor Act and related federal protections mean that legitimate Medal of Honor pieces carry an extremely complex chain of ownership history, and I would strongly encourage anyone who believes they may have inherited a genuine Medal of Honor or any piece related to one to consult both a specialized military attorney and a professional appraiser who has specific experience with this category before doing anything else with it whatsoever. Authenticated, documented examples that have come to market through legitimate estate channels have sold for extraordinary sums, well into the tens of thousands of dollars, and in documented cases of Civil War-era medals linked to well-known recipients, significantly higher. The physical check for this one is not a DIY exercise, and I mean that seriously. What you can do at home is this: examine the suspension ribbon. The Medal of Honor ribbon is a specific shade of pale blue moire silk, and period examples show a texture that no modern reproduction captures convincingly up close. But if you think you have one, the next step is a professional, full stop. And that brings us to number 1, and I'll be honest, this one is the subversion of everything you'd expect. The one that almost every American family has somewhere. The one that people walk past, donate to thrift stores, and sell at garage sales for $1 without a second thought is the standard National Defense Service Medal. It was issued to virtually every person who served during the Korean War period, the Vietnam era, the Gulf War period, and after September 11th. Tens of millions were issued. And alone, a single National Defense Service medal is worth almost nothing on the collector's market, typically $1 to $5, if that. The reason I put it at number 1 is this. It is the single most important lesson of this entire video. The medal itself is almost never the whole story. Its value exists only in the context of the group it belongs to, alongside higher decorations, service records, photographs, unit citations, and personal letters. Families who understand that the grouping is the artifact, not the individual piece, are the families who preserve real value. Every other medal on this list today becomes more valuable when it's documented, named, and kept together. The National Defense Medal is the reminder of that truth. If your family has a box of service items, keep everything together. That box as a whole may be worth far more than the sum of its parts. So before you decide that tin of old medals is just a keepsake, go through it carefully. Look for named reverses, check the clasps, feel the weight, hold it to the light, and subscribe to the channel. If you want more of these, there are categories of inherited objects that most families have never thought to look at twice, and we go through them one by one right here. Tell me in the comments whose medals are they, and do you still have the full grouping together, or have the pieces been separated over the years? I'd love to hear the story. Take a closer look at what you already own. You might be sitting on more than you think.